Oh boy, man. Anybody else feel hungover today? I feel hungover today, and I don't beverage, but man, Tuesdays can be a little rough, a little long, especially when we're looking at things like I don't know, election seasons. Bzz. Um, Shout outs to my friends in the news industry. Hell is coming your way. It's time to think about your newsrooms and send them election night pizza and all of those things that we normally do. You might want to send, like, I don't know, booze this year. Just send booze. Oddly enough, the great news I have is that Couchbot, while it was having a momentary fritz yesterday, like it did not fire, like today it fired immediately. So we're gonna get this underway because I don't see any reason why. Well, aside from my computer lagging there a bit, so we're gonna make sure that video sorts itself out. It looks like it's caught back up. Not sure what was happening there. Um, and this is the moment where I go, oh, maybe I should close some of these other programs that are running, like, I don't know, the three other things that are using my camera at the same time. Maybe that'd be a good idea. Um, I'm not a bright person. Anyway, let's see here. Yeah, we've got what we need. We've got what we need, so we can leave the station. All right. Greetings, one and all. Chris Courtney here, New Pragmatic. It's time for the feedback loop. So good to have you along. It's been a busy morning. Not a lot of visual design to really react to. A lot of you are in the throes of the interview cycle, so I've had a conversation with a few of you about ongoing job searches that you've got going on. Also, a few of you beginning the program, and had some feedback there. So I've been talking with Rebecca and Ricardo and a few others this morning. One one that we do have in here is from Katie. It's great to see Katie back in the mix. It's so good to see Katie back in the mix. She submitted some work last night regarding her project, and one of the things that I want to point out is when you're working on something part time, which a lot of people go through the program, they work on a project part time, you can get lost at some point in the fog of that project. Meaning that you've been in the project for so long, dabbling in it here and there, that it becomes hard to remember where it was that you began. And Katie, one of your comments alluded to that, and I want to call attention to that because it's important to realize that we have all the answers to these things. You've been working on this, you've got the documentation, you've got all the answers. But specifically, the line that I'm referring to here it is. You're checking out, doing the checkout flow and making the pages more aligned and consistent. So you're really focused on like the visual design stuff, and that's the stuff that we've been hammering down on. And then then you say, I'm trying to figure out where and how to add shipping, how many days it will take, or if that's even needed. And we have to remember the prompt here. The prompt is this is an apparatus being built into the delis of the regional grocery stores that are nearby where you live. And if that's the case, that's not shipping, that's delivery. That's like it's going from a place where the sandwiches and stuff are made, and it'll be to you in 30 minutes. The terminology shipping triggers this idea of pre-made, off in a warehouse somewhere, frozen, coming. It's not fresh. Okay, shipping, frozen. We don't like to ship food anyway, unless it's like gummy bears or something manufactured. You don't want to ship fresh food. So when that comes up, I begin to focus back on, okay, we've been in the project too long, because we're beginning to lose the moorings of what did the stakeholder say all those weeks ago when we talked to them. And this is not uncommon for projects that go through these phases where they're on again and off again. And I mention this specifically because I've been working on a project like that. A company called me up and said, we're doing this thing. And then we were working on it. And then COVID hit and that thing went off to the side. The thing went off to the side and wasn't touched for months. Okay, so the experience that you're having right now, Katie, is not uncommon. There are things that will happen when you're working on a project at work that will sideline that project. Things come up. Pandemics happen. Okay? But what you have to do when you ramp back up is find a way to sync back in with that base information. A review of the stakeholder document, a review of the research that you've put together. That is what provides the moorings for the design decisions that you make. And when I hear I'm focused on adjusting sizes and making alignment and consistent, you're in the right spot, but you've drifted from the base information. And again, I only call attention to this because it happens in real life. It's not just something that's happening to you because you're in a project. Anytime a project gets paused, there is an opportunity for it to drift. And you need to be cognizant, and not just Katie, everybody who's watching this. You need to be cognizant of the fact that it can happen even when it's not even when you're not part-time. It could happen if you were brought in on the middle of a project. I was brought in on the middle of this project and I wasn't around for the launch, and I don't know what the original research was, so I'm going to make this thing. You got to go check in with the original research. Somebody on that team has got to bring you up to speed, and you've got to listen to them. You've got to basically have a hunger, a desire to seek that information out, because otherwise, what are you really designing? All right. So I just wanted, before we look at anything involving pixels, I wanted to take a minute to talk about the source information, talk about the research, talk about all that data gathering you did early on. Okay, because that stuff all matters. That answers this question: is it even needed? And at the same time, I want to point out that this isn't a Katie-specific issue. I'm dealing with it, or have dealt with it. And in my case, it was a project sideline. New people come on the project. Now you've got a sideline project with new people, and everybody's kind of lost. Everybody's just kind of floating around the water. What are we doing? I don't know. Maybe we should do some research. Have we already done research? Do we already have wireframes? Have we already figured out a scope for the project? If we have, why would we do that again? And oftentimes, you can't just say that. You have to bring people along. Hey, yeah, I was wondering if we could review these documents. Well, what are these documents? These documents are the original research. Oh, I'm so glad you have that. Instead of saying, why didn't you read the research? That always pisses people off. So don't do that. All right, I'm going to share my screen because I realize that that might be beneficial if we're going to talk about the stuff. Okay, so Katie, here you are, and there's a couple of things that I wanted to focus on with regard to your project. Like, for instance, you've done a really good job. We worked through this earlier, and you resize this, and you've got this is right aligned over here, and this is left aligned. So it's like you spot it, like the place where it makes sense to flip the alignment, and then we go away from it here. Like that alignment that was present here and like the size, like you've got the subtotal, and the subtotal's fine. You make it a little larger there. That's fine. I would definitely come back and get this alignment in here, and you can see like you've got grids set up here. I'm not sure why they aren't being followed, but that's something that you need to adjust. Additionally, we've talked about this before. If you've got spacing, if you've got a specific type of spacing on these shapes, they need to all have that spacing. And so if I take this unit down and I apply it, you can tell that like there needs to be more spacing to the interior of these, and currently right now you just don't have that. Additionally, like there's a width, like there's a natural width that's here. It's not there, so it needs to be a bit wider. Bigger issue though, and we've talked about this from color accessibility, is I can't tell what the blue and the pink really mean in this instance. Is it selected? Is it done? Is it updated? I don't know what these mean. And equally, if I have any sort of color deficiency, am I going to be able to tell that is selected? I think you need like a check mark or an X or a dash or something to indicate what the status of this is beyond just this box. Okay, and it says, you have select. It says select one. So I have enter new address, pick up meals at home store. So this is like I want to pick up meals here. So by method of default, I think that we're here. Okay. But if we were to go into Color Oracle, which we took a look at Color Oracle yesterday, if we were to go into Color Oracle and say, okay, so I've got Tritanopia. Tritanopia, you should be able to tell. Well, sorry, cloud. Tritanopia should be able to tell what's going on. I have no idea what's going on if I got Protanopia. Same thing with Deuteranopia. It's a little easier to see. Grayscale, that's pretty minimal. So I really think that if I can go back to normal vision, I really think that this is a prime example of somewhere where if this is select one, you need a check mark or an X or something that indicates that is selected. You can also use color. Remember that this isn't an or. It's not color or icon. It's color and icon, or color and words, or color and something else. All right. So we use these things in tandem. Additionally, like on that alignment front, if we're talking about alignment, I would also be aligning these elements here. And I'm not really sure. Well, this is grouped. Oh, this has got like is this okay, so that's interesting. So this is auto layout set on it for some reason. I don't really know why it's its own auto layout, but don't think it really needs to be. It doesn't appear to be like these aren't laid out together, so I'm not really sure what the usage of auto layout is for here. I'd probably just move this outside of that and get rid of the auto layout aspect of this. Oh, and this is part. Okay, so this is part of. Never mind. It's in an instance. That's why it's not removing. I would go into your component and I would remove that because you're not really using auto layout. It's just kind of it's placing a box around the content, but it's not like this is a unit together where you're utilizing auto layout. for any real purpose. So I would switch that up and get that alignment back in there. But the bigger thing is, like, from a color accessibility perspective, like, how am I indicating that this is not just using color to indicate selection, but also icon plus color or words plus color. I think icon plus color is the way I would go here. And then on this side, it's making this box more like this box. Left align, not left align, but right align on the price there. I think would make a lot of sense. As we move down, anything that you do with regard to that color accessibility selection thing, bring it down. So we've got, this is delivery, this is payment. Yeah, I don't think you need the shipping thing at all. I think you've already addressed delivery. I think that's just confusing the matter. And yeah, you work on alignment here, and it seems like you're off to the races. I do notice that you've got some frames to the outside, so it looks select payment, review order, place order. So it looks like you're really setting up for the components, the not components, but the prototype. I am curious about this button small that's here. Like, what size is that? It's 12. Okay, that's not bad. I mean, that's fine. So button 18. Okay. No, so I think overall this is okay. It's just like color accessibility, alignment, and off you go. That's pretty much where I think you're at. But the bigger thing is the conversation around shipping and the question that you had in your document, because if we lose our moorings to the reasons and the problems we're trying to solve, then we've got real issues, because then the project can there's no way we can contain the scope. There's just no way we can contain the scope. All right. Let's make sure there's nothing else in the loop. Nope, I've talked to everybody else here. Let's go ahead and mark you as done. Okay. All right, that's going to do it for today's edition of the Feedback Loop. Again, a lot of you I've talked to in offline capacities regarding things that you've turned in. Katie, you just happen to ask a really timely question with regard to do we need this? And the research from the prior and the whole build-up from the stakeholder says, no, you don't need that thing. And actually, you'd already solved it with delivery. There was no need for shipping. So it sounded like confusion inside of the file, but that happens when you've been working on something for a while. And it also happens more often than not on any project that pauses and comes back. These zombie scopes where it just kind of grows exponentially and unexpectedly, that's a thing. That's a thing that you've got to look out for. So I'm glad that you actually brought it up, because it's something that's very valuable for everybody here to consider. All right, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Chris Courtney. That's been the Feedback Loop, and I look forward to seeing. Well, I'll see many of you later today.